The idea of one of the strongest mantras for humans on earth, one of the strongest tools, is as you wake up in the morning and as you go to sleep at night, to say, perhaps at least 3 times, I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. I am who I am, and that is enough. And then see what synchronicity brings you with the willingness to let go of all restrictions, all limitations, all assumptions and all insistences that in your unconscious, subconscious, and conscious mind don't actually serve you or don't align with the vibration of your true ethereal spiritual core. Then reality will unfold as it needs to serve you best.
The 2-word sacred mantra. Repeat after me. So what? Very powerful. 2-word sacred mantra. So in other words, should you decide to move forward and should what you fear will happen, so what? Pick yourself up, keep moving. It cannot actually ultimately destroy you. It will only make you stronger. Because you will have discovered more of yourself. Even if the modality, remember what we said? Even if the modality is extremely scary, even if the scenario is extremely frightening, invite yourself to go through it because you will go through it.
My fear is it's too big. That's
nonsense.
That's the fear. That's what I'm holding on to. You asked what my fear was?
Yes, but it's nonsense. Because it cannot, by definition, be bigger than you are.
I totally agree.
Well, there you go.
And the mantra is this: circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. And again, listen to the way that this synchronistically translates in your English language. Circumstances don't matter. They do not create materialization. Only state of being matters. Only state of being materializes experience. So, the mantra is, anytime you find yourself doubting, stuck, fearful, because of what you believe the situation is, what you believe the circumstances are, you can, if you wish, use this little reminder. Circumstances don't matter. Only state of being matters. And then choose the state of being you prefer. And then redefine the circumstances from that state of being, so that you can erase the echo and allow the true reflection to then take form from your state of being.
Each and every statement invokes a particular and very specific frequency and state of being. All of them together will combine to create a master frequency, that bubble reality in your energy field that will allow you to develop, the more you do it, this sense, this innate sense of inner peace, and allow it to become not your second nature, but your first nature, knowing yourself more clearly.
Repeat. I am who I am for a reason.
You are unique. If you exist, then all that is needs you to exist, for without you, it would not be all that is. So allow the first statement to be an honoring of your existence, your uniqueness. You are who you are for a reason. Your mission, your purpose in life, no matter how you may choose to express the mission, no matter how you may choose to express the purpose, is fundamentally to be yourself, your unique self as fully as you can, which is why it is so important to act on your passion, since that energy is representative and your physical translation of your core frequency, your true self. So this first 5 minutes of the meditation, and you may simply
repeat the phrase if you wish, silently or out loud. It's, again, up to you, but it is for the purpose of honoring your existence and the fact that you are worthy of that existence, the fact that you belong in existence, or you wouldn't exist, because creation doesn't make mistakes. The second statement.
Repeat. No insistence, no resistance.
Insistence in your life on a particular thing that must happen or something will go wrong is actually a form of resisting what could be there much better than you even imagined. So allow the resistance in your life to melt away. Allow synchronicity to bring you what you truly need, and relax the idea of the negative ego's insistence on what it wants, so that you can truly receive what you actually need that will benefit you best in your life. No insistence, then there will be no resistance. Let yourself flow, because every one of you has your own current in the river of creation. The current already knows where you need to go. Let yourself go with the flow. Resistance will have you swimming upstream against the current, and it will create difficulty and struggle and pain in your life. So relax, go with the flow. You will wind up exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there. Perfect timing. The next statement.
Repeat. I am an indestructible being at my core.
I am an indestructible being at my core. The fact that you exist cannot be changed. You can change the form of your existence, the expression of your existence, the experience of your existence, but the fact that you exist is fundamental. You cannot change that. You are an indestructible, eternal being. That will never change. So feel that indestructibility in your core. And next.
The past and the future are illusions. There is only now.
Now is all there is. When someone asks you for the time, you don't say, it is then. You don't say, it is when. You don't say, it is will be. You say, it is now. For that is all that exists. And everything that exists, exists now. You have created the illusion of time to help you experience process in a certain way, and that is all well and good and is very creative. But the idea is that the so-called past and the so-called future are simply alternate nows existing simultaneously with whatever now you believe you are experiencing at this moment. When you shift, you are not shifting into the future, you are not shifting from the past, you are shifting into an alternate now, because that's the way you experience things from a linear perspective. But everything exists all at once. They are all here, they are all now, they are all within your consciousness. You are here and now. And next.
Everything happens in perfect timing. I will miss nothing.
Everything that needs to happen in your life, if you focus on what you need, will come to you exactly when you need it. It is not possible for you to miss any agreements, any appointments that you have made that are relevant for you to experience in your life, with one exception. Focusing and worrying that you will miss the appointment, worrying that you will miss the agreement, will allow you to miss it. But if you do not worry that you will miss something important, something relevant for you, you will not miss a thing. Nothing will be left out, for this is the nature and the definition of acting on your passion. It contains everything that's relevant for you, specifically for you in your life. That's why it's your passion, designed to harmonize with your frequency, and it automatically contains everything you need, and it will unfold, if you allow it to, in perfect timing. Nothing will be left out that is important for you to experience in your life. If it's not there, you don't need it. Let it go. Next.
My life is my own. No one can live it for me.
We understand on your planet many times you will be quite bombarded by people telling you what you should and should not do, who you should and should not be. And it doesn't mean that you cannot take advice, and it doesn't mean that you cannot follow guidance, for sometimes guidance is wisely given. But when it comes right down to it, you are the only one that can decide what is really true for you. If you explore yourself with honesty and clarity, you will know the difference between what really is your excitement and what really is your fear-based anxiety. You will know what direction is really true for you. And by choosing the thing that is really you, that is actually the best way to honor everyone else, including your parents, even if they don't necessarily believe that your choices are of great benefit to you. If you have explored and done your due diligence within yourself to know as best as you can at any given moment who you truly know yourself to be, which doesn't mean you won't change, which doesn't mean you won't know more later, which doesn't mean you won't get better. Of course you will. But at every given moment, you are a perfect representation of who you are at this moment. And in the next moment, even though you may change and learn more and do things differently, you will then simply be a different perfect, not more perfect, a different perfect. So no one can really live your life. No one can really know what's best for you. Again, advice can be taken, can be listened to. You can assess it as to whether it's true for you or not, but ultimately you have to decide who you are, who you prefer to be, and what the path of least resistance is for you. No one can tell you that. You have to tell it to yourself. And next.
I am unconditionally supported by creation.
Unconditionally. If you need to, look the word up. It means with no condition. Unconditionally loved. Unconditionally supported. So unconditionally loved, so unconditionally supported that you are even allowed to believe you are not loved and not supported. That's how supported and loved you are. You're allowed to believe anything, even the things that are not really so. That is proof that you are unconditionally supported, because if you weren't, there would be conditions and you wouldn't be able to believe those things. You would be forced to believe something, but you are free to choose anything that you wish to believe. That's how supported you are. And next.
I am an expression of nature.
You do not live in nature. You do not live with nature. You are nature. You are an extension of that which is natural. There really isn't anything that is supernatural or paranormal or metaphysical. It's all natural. It's all normal. It all has representation in your physical reality in some way, shape, or form. We understand there are higher energies that are non-physical that you can tap into, but that doesn't make them supernatural. It simply makes them another form of nature. You are an expression of nature in all the things you do. Do not segregate or separate yourself out from the idea of being part of the natural world, the natural universe. You are an expression of nature. And knowing that and acting like you know it is what will also help you make all the connections to other expressions of nature that are important for you to experience your reality in a holistic way, rather than a jumbled collection of parts that seem disconnected one from the other. The more you connect to the true nature of your being, the easier it will be for you to connect to all other expressions of nature as well, and see yourselves as an expression of a holistic system. And next.
I always have exactly what I need.
Everything that comes to you even if it's something in the moment that you neutrally and objectively recognize you don't prefer, must be there for a reason. If you stay in a positive state with it and know that at that moment, no matter how it looks, it's what you need to move on to the next best place, then you will relate to it in a positive way and be capable of extracting a positive effect from it, no matter how it looks, no matter how it originated, no matter what anyone else's opinion about it is, no matter what anyone else's experience about it may be. If you remain in a positive state, you will extract a positive effect from it. Whatever happens is the most important thing going on right now in this moment in your life. Whatever it is, no matter how it looks. Stay in a positive state, you'll be able to use it in a positive way. You have everything you need. The manifestation will happen in perfect timing, but everything you need is right here, right now. Nothing is missing. Nothing is missing. Some of it may seem invisible to you, but that's just because it's not the time for that to manifest solidly. It's not the time for that necessarily to come into your awareness, because there may be a process you need to go through so that when it does manifest, you will have a deeper appreciation of exactly how to use it. But everything you need is right here, right now, already. You are missing nothing. And next.
I give and receive joy, love, and compassion.
Simply put, why not? Because that's what you are. You are joy. You are love. You are given unconditional support, love, and compassion. Why not reflect it? Because that is what will allow you to feel the connection to creation, to all that is, because that's the frequency of existence itself. So why not harmonize with that and know that you are giving it as well as receiving it, and that being of service by giving it is the best way for you to open up as fully as you can to receive it and experience it for yourself, because it's always being given to you. You never have to ask, really. Not really. Because the idea is asking is not really asking for something you don't have. You can ask, but understand that asking is simply asking to be more aware of what you're already being given. Big difference. Big difference. Because you have everything you need. You just have to pay attention to that fact, and you will experience that it is so. And next.
My life is a synchronous orchestration.
Absolutely. Every moment is orchestrated through synchronicity. Nothing happens by accident. Who you may wind up next to in the so-called traffic jam on your freeway is not an accident. It may not necessarily always have a lot to do with you consciously, but you are there for a reason, perhaps to serve what someone else might be going through. It's all an orchestration. You are that powerful. You may not know it, but you are that harmonized. You are that powerful. So powerful you are unconscious of it. You create it to be automatic in the background, so you don't have to overthink it. Just start knowing that no matter where you are, no matter where you wind up, no matter with whom, no matter what's going on, it's happening for a reason, and that reason is because you are part of an orchestration that may have a lot to do with you, a little to do with you, but always has something to do with your participation being needed in that orchestration in order for it to happen in the way it needs to happen for all the participants at that particular moment. If you could only see, really allow yourselves to feel the beautiful orchestration, the powerful orchestration that you all are, you would walk through your day absolutely gobsmacked with your jaws slack and hanging open. Wow. Look at the synchronism in that. And the more you focus on the idea that everything is synchronism, the more synchronism you will experience, the more you will actually be able to experience the orchestration. And pretty soon it will be like walking through a magical dream. Everything falling into place. You will see reality for what it is, a projection of your consciousness, a play on a stage, a beautiful, fantastic, complex play. It's amazing. Let it be so. And then
I am free to choose.
you are always free to choose. There is a phrase that is often heard, often said on your planet, mostly a kind of religious phrase. It's God's will. If God is all that is, why does it need to will anything? It's already experiencing everything it can be. It allows everything to be what it is because that's what it needs to be in order for all that is to be all that is. If it actually exercised will, then it would not be all that it is, because it would be forcing itself to be something, and it wouldn't be allowing itself to be what it is. It would be actually short-circuiting itself, short-changing itself by focusing too much on the need for something to be other than allowing it to be what it is. You are free, absolutely free to choose. That is your greatest gift, the greatest power you have from the unconditionally supportive and loving existence of all that is. You are free to choose. So choose. Exercise that power. Exercise that gift. You are free, absolutely free. Enjoy this meditation. Do it when it feels correct for you, but the more you do it, the greater sense of inner peace and self-empowerment you will have. Enjoy.
We were going to talk about self-worth, but we're not sure we're worthy enough to talk about that. So you see what happens when you are in that state of being, of feeling that you lack self-worth. You deprive others of what you have to give. You're not giving the gifts that you were meant to give in your world, that others are waiting to receive from you. As we have said many times, if there is something that excites you, something that you have to give, some way of expressing your true self, there will always be someone waiting to receive that from you. And by feeling or believing that you are not worthy, not deserving of acting on your passion, you are actually holding back those things that others are waiting to receive, that they may need in their lives. Each and every one of you has something to give, has something of benefit, of service to others, that is simply representative of nothing more complicated than being your true self and expressing that truth in whatever way, shape, or form excites you the most, is most representative of your peace, your balance, your passion, your joy. Holding back on that also then allows you to feel diminished, devalued. The idea, of course, of believing that you are unworthy, as we have said from time to time, is proven to be false by the fact of your existence. For again, creation does not make mistakes, and if you were truly unworthy, you would not exist. So if you exist, which you do, or you wouldn't be hearing this, then creation must need you to. You must be that important, or all that is couldn't be all that it is, or all that it could be without you. So you are worthy on the most basic level by the fact of your existence itself. And any time that you buy into the idea that you are not worthy of your life, not worthy to be who you truly are, who you know yourself to be, who you prefer to be, not worthy, not deserving to live your dreams, then you are engaging, as we have said, in an argument with creation that you will never win, because you will never cease to exist. That is simply not possible. Existence is your basic quality, to be. And therefore, that basic worthiness, if you can understand that from that level, can begin to filter into the rest of your life and all the expressions of your true self that are reflective of your natural existence, of who you are as the unique individual you have been created to be. But if you buy into the idea of lack of self-worth, there are many different kinds of symptoms that will happen, many different kinds of expressions that will come from that negative belief about yourself. First and foremost, of course, the ones that seem most obvious is that you can experience what you call depression, which is again the negative view of what the natural state is, which is simply compression, which means you withdraw into the center of your being where you know the answers lie when you cannot find them outside. That's a natural experience. But if you negate it, if you give it a negative definition, then it becomes the experience of depression, as if something is wrong about going within. If you allow it to be the natural experience of compression, you will simply find the answers you seek. You will then emerge having redefined yourself as a new person. But again, buying into lack of self-worth may allow you to experience this as depression. And of course, people in that state can experience other side effects, not only mentally, emotionally, such as suicidal thoughts, but the idea also of physically causing dis-ease within yourselves, to manifest the idea of how you see yourself, to create a reflection in the outer reality, the physical reality, representation and symbol of how you see yourself energetically, spiritually. However, the idea is that you will always generally find that most people, even with the idea of lack of self-worth as a belief system, will attempt in some way, shape, or form to validate themselves. The only difference will be that if you actually are holding on to a belief that you lack worth, you will attempt all that validation outwardly instead of inwardly. You will not know how to validate yourself on your own. So you will seek it, if you seek it at all, through the idea of an exterior expression. This kind of insecurity about yourself leads to a polarized expression of the ego. And in fact, those that are the most insecure, the most connected to the concept of lack of self-worth, will express their ego in a very exaggerated way to counterbalance and make up for the fact that they don't actually believe they're worthy. So they will attempt to express worthiness through the aggrandizement and amplification and blowing up of their ego, and express themselves in a very egotistical, very often narcissistic way. This should be the first clue that they really don't have self-value in mind, because they are attempting to create an expression of it, but it's, in a sense, an act. And they don't really believe in what they are saying, in what they are doing, in what they are expressing. They just don't want anyone else to know that they feel worthless. So they will put on a front, and they will seek, many times, again, as a symptom that you can recognize in life, the idea of outside validation over and over and over again, requiring quite often the idea of others to validate them, because they do not spend the time to validate themselves. So they will, in the sense, become very needy. Very often will be one of the strong symptoms, requiring constant validation from those around them, since they will not give it to themselves. This will, of course, create secondary negative effects in any form of relationship that they may find themselves in, because they will always be only relying on others to create the sense of worth that they simply deny themselves. So you can look for these symptoms and understand that it is coming from a place where they do not feel valued and do not know how to give themselves the idea of self-valuation, self-appreciation, to the degree that if they don't get it from others, if they don't, in some sense, insist on it from the outer reflection, they will feel empty, bereft, abandoned. But then another side effect of that, because they will awesomely be in denial of the idea that they are lacking worth, because they don't want to face that, is they will project onto others the idea that they are being abandoned, not being supported, not being valued by others, because they cannot face the fact that they are not valuing themselves, because they believe themselves not to be worthy of value. But they are in denial of the fact that they are doing that to themselves, so they will always project it on others who are not then willing to do it for them. These are symptoms as well of that self-devaluation, that lack of self-worth as a belief. So look for these symptoms and understand with compassion that such people may or may not be willing to receive new tools, new understandings of how they can know that they are valuable, know that they are worthy, know that they belong in creation, and begin to see themselves in a way where they don't require constant reminders from those around them of how valuable they are, constant reassurance from those around them that they are worthy. For that will not be a reflection that can last a long time. For others will sense that it is coming from a place of non-belief in what those people are saying to them. So even when someone might say, yes, you are worthy, yes, you have value, yes, I recognize these things about you, because they are in denial of it within themselves, they may not actually even buy it from other people, though they may act like they do, or act like they really need it, but they may not really still believe it. And thus they create a downward spiral of negativity that acts in many ways like what you would call a black hole in space, sucking up all the light, all the benefit, all the value they are given from others, to the point where others begin to realize that they cannot give them enough value. They cannot, in any way, shape, or form, validate them enough. And therefore, they recognize that since all of that reflection is really just disappearing within that person and never actually being put to use in the sense of strengthening that person's ability to know that they are worthy, know that they are valuable, the outside reflection will eventually usually stop. And it will then thrust the person devaluing themselves into an even deeper downward spiral that can again lead to the concepts of depression, senses of abandonment, suicidal thoughts, and all of those things that go with not being able to support the self, not knowing how to believe what others are telling them, and needing others to do it because they will not do it for themselves. So take note in your lives, in relationships, when individuals are removing the platform from under their own feet, not able in their own minds to really stand, not able to give themselves the valuation that they truly need, constantly asking for recognition for everything that they may do, instead of giving themselves the recognition in a humble way and being of service to others. Allow yourselves more awareness, more conscious perception. And by all means, should you come across individuals devaluing themselves in that way, by all means share with them that they do not have to do so. By all means share with them that there are tools by which, and ideas and beliefs by which they can know that they are valuable, know that they are worthy. But also allow yourselves to recognize that unconditional love is not about continuing to support a vibration that is incompatible with your preference beyond a certain point. The most unconditionally loving thing you can do sometimes is to demonstrate the consequence of another person's choice. And it may not be what they prefer, but it may be what they're telling you needs to happen. Because if you do not give them a reflection of the consequence of what they are choosing for themselves, you give them no opportunity to change, no reason to change. It doesn't mean they will change, but at least give them a reason to. For if they want to remain in a relationship with you, by being given a clear reflection of the consequence of constantly devaluing themselves and constantly needing others to validate them, by showing them that you can no longer do so because it's actually not in their best interests for you to continue to support the negative behavior, you at least give them an opportunity to recognize that they may need to change if they wish to maintain the relationship with the real you and not with who they actually insist that you must be, because that is not being in a relationship with who you really are. So we would always encourage you not to reinforce the negativity, but to let them know there is always an opportunity to know how valuable they are, how worthy they are, and to give themselves what they need. And the irony and the paradox in this is that when a person does, in fact, humbly value themselves, they will often find that others will value them quite often. And they will see the reflections of their self-valuation in your reality and in their reality. So, use the power of the paradox to allow them to know that what they truly need will be given to them, ironically, when they don't need it, in a needy way. Because everyone needs validation. Everyone needs to know they are worthy and deserving. Everyone needs to know that. But the point is to know that by the fact of your existence, you are worthy, you are validated, you are deserving. And when you can stand in that certainty and stand in that awareness and stand in that knowingness, you will get the reflections that you need of that worthiness, of that validity. It will simply be the reflection of the energy you're giving off. Because when you shine, the mirror has something to reflect back. But when, like a black hole, you suck in all the light, there is nothing that can be reflected to you because you're giving nothing off that is representative of that validity, of that worthiness. Does this make sense to you? All right. So, just bear it in mind, keep it in mind, pay attention. Let your senses be aware of when you are seeing these symptoms. Do your best to assist, but not at the expense of your own worthiness. For that is never helpful nor loving to anyone.
I will take that as okay. We thank you, each and every one of you individually, all of you together collectively, for the co-creation of this interaction. Once again, each and every time your civilization interacts with our civilization in this way, it creates a link, a bridge, and a third reality in which we can, one day, interact more and more closely more and more immediately. So we thank you for the co-creation of this new paradigm, this new reality in which we can all together learn to play. This day of your time, this transmission will begin with a discussion of imagination. Now, we have talked about imagination many times. We would like to take the concept a little bit further this day of your time. We have reminded you of the synchronicity in many of the words that exist in various languages on your planet. We understand the channel's language is English, and in this context, we point out again, as many of you are already familiar with, the synchronicity of the word imagination. Magi, nation. A nation of magicians is what you are. And you can use your imagination to create the kind of nation, the kind of world that you prefer. Imagination is an extremely powerful tool, and we will discuss in what ways this is so, and how you can apply your imagination in very powerful ways to allow and to create the kinds of changes that you would prefer to represent within your lives, individually, and again, within your lives, collectively, globally. And as you thus then move out into the cosmos, into the stars, and join with us eventually, you will find imagination is going to play a very key role in your ability to do that. So let us begin. We will remind you, first of all, that we have talked about the idea that imagination is the conduit between your higher mind and your physical mind. It is the pipeline through which your higher mind communicates with you, and through which, in receiving that communication, you can then, as physical beings, as physical personalities, apply the information, the imagination that comes from higher mind, the communication, into your physical lives, to alter them, to change them in ways that are more reflective of your passion, your excitement, your joy, your preference, or not. It is up to you to use this positively or negatively. It is up to you. But imagination is the key to allow an alignment to occur. And if you are willing to use your imagination without filtering the communication from your higher mind through belief systems that contain fear, then you will find that the outcome can always be a positive one, and you can always amplify and magnify that in any direction, in any area of your lives, whatsoever, no matter what. Higher mind, again, I remind you, has the far-seeing point of view. It stands on the mountaintop. It can see all the pathways you could possibly take in life, and it guides you toward the path of least resistance, the path that is most truly you. As we have said many times, the vibration of excitement, the vibration of passion is what functions like the compass needle. It is your magnetic north to your true self. By following your passion, by following your excitement, by pointing the needle in that direction and that direction only, you will always be completely, purely, squarely on the path that is most truly you, your core, true, natural self. Your imagination is the conduit through which your higher mind can guide you in this very easily, if you allow it to be effortless, which you can. Physical mind, then, chooses in physical reality various ideas of how to apply these ideas coming from the higher mind in ways that are also pleasing to the physical being that you are, the physical personality that you are, and you learn to work in concert as a whole being, as a whole person with the higher mind. For if the physical mind thinks that it must take on the job of figuring everything out. How is this going to happen? How can I make this happen? How can I bring everything together to get this to happen? If the physical mind thinks that it must be the only one doing that job, it is going to be burdened. It is going to be weighed down. It is going to be tired. Because the physical mind is not designed to know how things will happen. The physical mind is only designed to know how things have happened. The idea is thus then to trust the higher mind to let you know that if the higher mind is sending you information that pushes you in the direction of your passion and you trust that, what the higher mind is telling you is that by following your passion, the how will be taken care of, because the higher mind can see how you're going to get there, and the translation of that how through the imagination is the physical sensation of excitement, joy, passion, and love. That's how the higher mind speaks to the physical mind through the conduit of imagination, with those feelings, those vibrations, those energies, those pictures. So the physical mind can learn to relax and not feel it has to carry all the weight of the world on its shoulders for figuring out exactly how everything's going to come into manifestation in its life. You can allow the higher mind to guide you in that, and you can relax and ride the wave of the energy that the higher mind sends through the imagination and allow things to unfold in a synchronous manner, in an effortless, joyful, creative, loving manner. And thus then find yourself flowing through life. And even if the path that it leads you down may seem to be going left, going right, going here, going there, going where you least expected it to go, that is cause for celebration. Because as we say in our world, anytime something unexpected comes up, you want to say congratulations. Now you know you're really following your joy and allowing your life to unfold synchronously in front of you without it being so planned out, so rigidized, so insisting that it must be one way or another. Because if you really are open to the idea of what your higher mind can do through your imagination, it will almost always bring you something that is even more exciting than the physical mind was capable of actually picturing. So when you insist that it must be a certain way, you're actually limiting the ways in which it could actually come to you that might even be more exciting than you are actually capable of imagining. But imagination can act as the guide, the initial visualization mechanism to at least give you a bearing, give you a heading. And you can use that picture as a symbol to represent the energy, to symbolize the energy of the reality that is representative of your highest joy, of who you wish to be. But if you rigidize that picture and insist that it must turn out that way, then you are actually fighting against the flow of your higher mind. If you relax that it could come to you in another way and that what you're picturing is just a representation of that reality, then the energy can flow and you may find yourself winding up in a situation that is even more wildly fantastic than you were at first capable of picturing. Now, here is something else that is very important to understand about what imagination is. First of all, of course, understand it is a state of being. And any state of being causes certain kinds of states to exist in the neurology of your brain. When you are in an imaginative, creative state, your brain, the neurology, the way the electrical pathways flow will be different than any other state. Here is something that is important to understand. When you are born in physical reality, the first moment that you crystallize, shall we say, your spirit into the physical matrix, it crystallizes a kind of pattern within you that represents the idea of your soul agreement, your relationship to your higher self at that moment. What happens to it from there on will depend upon a lot of things, including input from your parents, society, so on and so forth. But that core agreement, that core relationship will always exist. So when you go through life and you've lived several years and maybe you find yourself becoming in your
older age, a little bit confused, a little bit forgetful of where you're going, why you came here, so on and so forth, looking for your joy, looking for your passion. Going into the state where you allow yourself to communicate with higher mind through your imagination will actually always bring you back to your 0 moment agreement of when you were born. It will actually restructure the neurological pathways of the brain back to that childlike moment where anything is possible. That's what's key to understand about the function of imagination in your physical reality. It's your reset button. So when you find yourself feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling at odds, go into your imagination. Open up the conduit of communion between your physical mind and higher mind and push the reset button. Go back to the 0 point. Let the neurological pathways realign. And then in that state, open up to the infinite possibilities and the choices you have made. And go forward from there afresh, anew, reinvigorated as a new persona. Because again, remember. When you make any change, you have made a total change. And that is what imagination allows you to do. Realign yourself in such a way in bringing yourself back to a kind of 0 point that you can then step out from there on any path you really so desire that is representative of your highest passion. And know that when you do so, you really have cleaned the slate. And anything that may have seemed to be an issue that was an obstacle or a complication in your life formerly, at that moment of zeroing yourself out, is actually no longer there. Now, you can co-create it again. You can say, oh, it's still there. I still have to get over this. I still have to deal with this. You can do that. If that's your process, that's fine. I am not telling you how to live your life. If you want to include complications and misery in your life, please go ahead. I will not stop you, because if that's what gives you, quote unquote, joy, then by all means go ahead and involve yourself in that idea of struggle. If that's your process, love it. And then you'll get the most out of it. What I am simply saying is you do not have to do that. You actually have a choice. And in that moment that you zero yourself out with your imagination and allow your neurology to realign, recrystallize back to that first moment, that first agreement, when you were a child, a newborn child, and step forward in that state of being, then all bets are off, as you say. You really have lost your history. You really only live in the present in that moment. And what you do from that moment forward is up to you. And it will be, it can be your reality completely, wholly, totally. Now, we have talked about the idea of imagination in context to the concept of all that is. The universe, if you will, the multiverse, creation in totality. Whatever you wish to label it, it doesn't matter. And then we spoke about the idea of understanding this. You cannot imagine non-existence. Go ahead, I'll give you a minute, try it out. There, you see? Couldn't do it. Because the point is that even if you could, by definition, imagining non-existence would be non-experiential. Therefore, how would you know you had done it? You would have no experience of it. And in having no experience of it, in that context, it isn't relevant. It doesn't exist. Therefore, conversely, anything, everything that you can imagine is somewhere, somewhen, somehow a reality, a real reality. It may not necessarily be relevant to the reality you are creating on Earth, but it is nevertheless real in some parallel dimension, some other reality, whatever you wish to label it. Whatever you imagine is also happening. simultaneously with the reality that you are actually physically experiencing. So if in your imagination, you do imagine you have 3 arms, wings, 4 eyes, and are purple, there is a reality where such a being, such a version of your soul actually does exist. It may not ever cross paths with you on Earth. You may never know that until you go to higher planes where you can see more of your soul's creation, and then you will go, oh yeah, there I am. Doing that thing in that universe with that kind of a form for that kind of a reason, because that's a symbol and a reflection of that kind of path and that kind of an experience. So anything you imagine is, in fact, tapping into some other simultaneously coexistent real reality. Yes, really, really real. Just as real as you feel your physical reality is for you. Now, the idea, of course, is one of discernment. It is real, but is it relevant to your reality? The idea of following your joy, following your passion, it's not to say you cannot create that here, but it is highly improbable, not impossible, but highly improbable based on the agreement you made to participate in the co-created mass consensus reality of Earth at this point in space-time, as you have created it. Strange things can happen on your planet, and strange things have and always will. And some of them are the confluence of someone actually fully letting go of any assumptions and expectations about what this reality has to be, opening the door a little wider than normal, and perhaps suddenly, there you go, something pops in that may not normally be relevant to your reality, and suddenly a legend is born, a myth is born. Oh, did you know there was such a creature, such a thing, such a happening? Well, those things do happen. They may pop in, they may pop out, and never be seen again. That doesn't mean they weren't real at that moment. It may have simply been only, in a sense, I'll put it this way, a momentary defocusing, a momentary relaxing of your agreement, but it also may be part of your agreement in the sense of presenting those kinds of ideas and realities to yourself so that you can play off them, reflect off them, and see how it might apply to some aspect of your agreement here in this reality. Nothing happens by accident. It can all be played off of. It's all an orchestration. All we are simply saying is, it's also a matter of discernment as to what works for you. And if you use your imagination in this way and apply these things in a manner that will work for you based on your understanding of your true self and the agreement that you made to be your true self in this particular modality, in this particular reality, then you can stay aligned and harmonious with your higher self and understand what it is you can achieve in this reality. You have far fewer limitations in this reality than you think, even within the parameters of the limitations you have imposed upon yourself for what is possible in this reality, or at least what is probable. The idea is that anything that represents your true joy, anything that represents your true self, your true passion, is manifestable. Is manifestable. But it is also about you paying attention to what is actually representative of your passion and not representative of your anxiety that is simply being called your passion. It requires discernment on your part to know whether you're coming from fear or true joy, and not labeling things that are representative of your fear as excitement when they actually in fact are not, but also vice versa. Not labeling your joy as a fear when it actually is representative of your true path. Because many people on your planet will stay away from the thing that really excites them the most because they have put a label of fear on it, or society has taught them to do so. This again is where your imagination can, in a sense, come to the rescue. Go back to your 0 point, press your reset button, and go, wait a minute. Who am I at the core? Who do I imagine myself to really be? What kind of person am I passionate about being? What kind of life am I passionate about living? In your imagination, you can see all those things. And that's why you have said many, many times what's important. Whether it becomes literally manifest as you see it in your imagination or not, what's important for communication and harmonization between the physical mind and higher mind is that when you do get a picture in your imagination of who you prefer to be, what you prefer to be doing, where you prefer to be doing it, how you prefer to be doing it, when you see that, all you really have to do is mimic it, mirror it, act it out as best as you can on all levels of your life. All you have to do is be like that person in your mind's eye. Do things the way he or she would do it. And then when you start doing things the way he or she would do it, you will change your vibration to the vibration that is representative of that life. And when you shift your vibration to the representation of that life, you will start to synchronistically have that life. All the things that are representative of what that you would have will come in. So that's how to use your imagination as an actual tool, an actual application tool. The idea being that when you open up to your imagination, you reset yourself, take yourself back to zero. Then you create the picture that is you, that you prefer to be. Then you act like it. You behave like it. And then you have 1, 2, 3, the whole manifestation process right there. 1, 2, 3. Let yourself reset using your imagination. Let yourself create using your imagination. Let yourself act it out using your imagination. And your imagination, thus then used in the 1, 2, 3 way, will allow you to become the magician that you are, and you will become a nation of magi. Do you understand this? All right. Now, we will, as this transmission goes on, of course, investigate some of these concepts a little bit more deeply and a little bit more personally as you engage us in questions and discussions. And just the thing to keep in mind while this is going on is that no matter how physical this interaction seems, it's also all happening in your imagination. Because remember, physical reality isn't by itself real, except the experience of it is. Physical reality and everything you experience in your life is created, whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, through what you imagine your reality to be. Your beliefs, obviously, your definitions obviously play a part. Your emotions play a part. Your thoughts play a part. But it is your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts that all wrap together into the triangle of your personality prism, and once it locks together in that triangle is the template of the imagination that activates your reality. That's the conduit through which you send those beliefs, definitions, emotions, and thoughts up to the realm of the higher self, where manifestation is immediate and instantaneous, and energy is all pervasive. Then the higher self, the higher mind, sends that thought, reflects it back through the imagination to the physical mind, and gives it to you in terms of the passion of your true self, so that by simply acting on it, by simply following your passion, the higher self lets you know, this is the wish you have sent me, translated into the language of the higher mind. Do it. Act it out. Act it out, and you will be speaking the language of the higher mind. You will be blended and harmonized as the physical mind and a higher mind into one holistic being, one holistic person that can then reflect that relationship into manifestations in an imagination reality that is being created by you. It is just a mirror. That's all it is. It's just reflecting back what you imagine it can be. That's all it is. So, as we said, with that in mind, we would invite you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I'm very excited to be here.
As are we to interact with you.
And before we begin, I would first like to extend my deepest appreciation for allowing us to interact with ourselves
Absolutely.
through you as a permission slip.
It is our passion and our pleasure.
Throughout my physical life here, I had the opportunity, the exciting opportunity to experience deep and severe levels of negativity, suffering, depression, and pretty much everything in that category.
How exciting.
Indeed.
How brave and bold of you.
Thank you, I guess.
I know. Because you can use this now to your advantage. Remember, unless you haven't heard it before, what we call the rubber band analogy?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Therefore, you understand, the farther you pull the band back into darkness, when you finally let go, it'll give you that much more momentum to fly that much faster into the light. So you were bold and strong enough to pull that band very far back. That means you have a lot of potential energy built up to go flying into the light. So that was bold of you.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it seems I'm still stretching backwards.
Do you want to let go?
Yes, and that's why I'm here.
And what it is in your belief system that stops you from letting go? What are you afraid will happen if you do let go and fly into the light and be the self you prefer to be? Yes?
I don't think I'm afraid. I just think I'm not able to identify a specific belief system that I have.
All right, well, one moment. We use the term afraid, but this is what we mean by it. Do you remember us talking about the motivational mechanism and how that works? Would you like a recap?
Yes, please.
You all have a motivational mechanism. It works like this. It works all the time, immediately, without fail. There are no exceptions to this. You always choose in the direction of what you believe benefits you. Always, without fail. What you believe benefits you more than the alternative. You always move away from what you believe does not benefit you. So, what that tells you, if you understand that mechanism and how it works, is that if you are not letting go and moving in the direction you would prefer to, that can only mean you have a belief attached to staying where you are that makes staying where you are appear more beneficial than where it is you prefer to go. You need to find out what that belief is. And that usually translates as if you do let go, you're afraid that something will happen that you don't prefer to have happen. That's what we mean by being afraid. You are projecting, or the negative belief is convincing you that if you do let go and become who you prefer to be, that something worse and less beneficial will happen than simply remaining where you are. Does that make sense as a mechanism to you?
It does make sense, yes.
So you need to figure out what the belief could possibly be that would make staying where you are more beneficial or seem to be more beneficial than where it is you prefer to be. Do you have any clue as to what that might be?
Well, I have sharing, if I may,
Yes.
with an experience like that.
Yes.
So I went back and I analyzed most of my negative experiences that I had, and I realized that most of the times, if not always, they were self-inflicted.
All right, and? Because?
And then I went and I asked, why is that? And then I found the reason.
And that was?
The main reason for me is that I find myself attracted and passionate about the idea of falling in love with the wrong person 99% of the time.
Because?
Well, I don't know. That's what
Because you don't deserve anything better?
Yeah, I think so.
So this is an issue of self-worth.
Well, if you ask me now, I feel like I deserve, but then I think it's something more deep inside that.
I know that you empirically know you do, but if you believe that you are not worthy of it, that is going to take precedence. That's exactly what I just described as the motivational mechanism. If the belief that you're unworthy is stronger than the belief that you deserve it, you will deprive yourself of what you deserve because that belief is stronger.
How do I shift the belief?
Well, find out why that belief would be stronger. Why does it seem safer, I'll use that term, to deny yourself what you deserve? Are you concerned that if you allow yourself to attract what you deserve, that something will go wrong with that? Or it won't be what you thought it would be?
Maybe.
Maybe. All right. Well, you have to be honest within yourself about these things. So, if you did allow yourself to attract what you deserve, what you know you do deserve, just by your existence, what do you imagine might go wrong?
I think it would be maybe too much of positive
Too
energy.
much positive energy.
Yeah, probably.
What would too much positive energy do to you?
I'm not sure. I haven't experienced it yet.
Yet you have an idea that it is something to avoid. So whether you have experienced it or not, you obviously have a belief about it that isn't benefiting you and prevents you from moving toward it. So what do you imagine too much positive energy might do? Blow the top of your head off or something?
Something like that, yeah.
So you're saying you can't handle that much positive energy?
I'm sure I can.
Are you?
At least empirically, as you said.
Well, but do you know it in your bones as true? Or is it just an intellectual concept for you?
It's just a concept.
Why isn't it in your bones? Why don't you know it to be true that you can handle it? I'll give you a hint, unless you can figure it out.
Please, go ahead.
All right. You have to look to your definitions of what it means to have positive energy, because you are creating a definition wherein having positive energy could possibly have something go against the positive energy, and that's not a definition of positive energy. You have a different definition. So you have to clarify and clean up your definition of what it is that's capable of happening when you create a positive state of being. Many people on your planet say exactly what you're saying. I would create a positive state of being, but I'm afraid that if I do, something negative will happen. That's not a definition of a positive state of being. Nothing negative can happen in a positive state of being. Even if it looks like it's negative, even if somebody else defines it as negative, you will know that by staying in a positive state of being, you can only extract a beneficial and positive effect from it, no matter how it was created, no matter how it looks, no matter what anyone tells you about it. You know that by staying in a positive state of being, you cannot be affected negatively. That's what you have to know is the definition of being in a positive state. Any other definition is not a definition of a positive state. So you have to be clear about how you're defining the concept of what's possible in a positive state. Yes?
Yes, and this is where intuition comes into place, and most of the times, actually, it never failed me.
Intuition can, but this is really just about knowledge. It's about knowing how things work. It's about understanding this literally almost from a physics point of view. You cannot experience what you're not the vibration of. It's simply not possible to experience something that you are not operating on the same wavelength as.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because there were cases when I felt extremely excited and positive and
yes,
and everything was wonderful, and then the outcome was completely different.
That's because you are equating the idea of that outcome to being in the positive state, and that's not the case. I understand that physical reality and continuity can make it seem as if that was the outcome of the positive, excited state, but it wasn't. If you have an outcome that is actually truly negative, now I'm talking about something different than what you expect, because just because something unexpected happens doesn't mean it's negative. If you're labeling it as negative because you didn't get what you expected, that's the definition you need to change. But the idea is that if you do experience something negative after having been in a positive state, that negativity is not the result of the positive state. That negativity is the result of you leaving the positive state. And that means you applied a negative definition to what happened instead of a positive one. You can recognize that something that manifests may not be what you expected, may not even be what you prefer. But that's a neutral observation and does not insist that you have to define it in a negative way. You have to know that whatever happens in your life, whatever pops up, no matter how it looks, must be there for a positive reason. And if you stay in that frame of mind, you will be able to use even what you don't prefer in a way that you do prefer. That's how you use the negative positively. And then when you use it in a positive way, it will usually go away because you've used it up. There's no reason for it to hang around because you were willing to validate it as having a reason to be there that serves you, instead of assuming that just because something unexpected happened, something went wrong. That definition is what causes you to experience that something went wrong. The thing in and of itself doesn't have built-in negative meaning. Nothing has built-in meaning. You give it the meaning. Now, you may give it that meaning unconsciously and then see the negative result from the negative belief you applied to it so quickly you didn't even know you were doing it. But that's why it's so important to become aware of your definitions so that they don't catch you off guard by making it seem as if, well, that just happened out there. That's just because that's built into that situation. No, it never is. It's always coming from you. And therefore, you have a feedback mechanism that lets you know how to course correct and realign yourself and say, wait a minute. I don't have to automatically assume that just because I got something I didn't expect that that's a negative thing. Let me see how I can define this in a positive way that serves me. Catch yourself, stop yourself, find the definition that gave it the negative experience, that attached the negative experience to it, and let go of that definition and replace it with a more positive one so you can get a beneficial effect out of whatever happens. Because as we have said, and we'll say again now, it doesn't matter what happens. It only matters what you do with what happens. That's what makes the difference. Is this helping?
It is, and I have tried just that, but it feels like...
No, you haven't. Because if you say, I've tried it, you're saying that you still had an assumption and an insistence and an expectation of what the result was supposed to be. You don't know what the result needs to be until it shows up. And that's what shows you what it needed to be. So you have to let go of any insistence on what you think it's supposed to be. Do you understand?
Yes, it feels like the body sometimes just takes over the mind.
That is an excuse. And it comes from a negative belief because that's not true. You're buying into something as if it's a fact. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's a fact. The fact that you feel like the body sometimes takes over is one of the tools the negative belief uses to convince you you don't have the power to change. You have to see through the lie, the smoke and mirrors of the tools the negative belief uses. It's not doing it maliciously, that's just how it's built. But you have to know that that's not true. In other words, when you hear yourself saying, or hear yourself even thinking, sometimes the body just takes over and I can't do anything about it, that's exactly, perfectly, and precisely the moment to stop yourself and go, wait a minute. That's not a fact. It's an opinion. It's a belief. It's a perspective. And I don't have to buy that as true. But negative beliefs will make themselves appear to be facts, appear to be true. You have to catch them in the moment and say, tricky little belief. I heard that coming out of my mouth. I heard that going through my head, and I almost fell for that. But I caught myself. So thank you for allowing me the practice to have more discernment over what really is and isn't a fact. Is this helping?
A lot.
All right.
Another layer of this experience is the fact that I've not...
Is the fact that?
Well, it's the...
Is the belief
that? Well,
yes. It's a fact that you can have a belief, if that's what you're saying.
Okay. It's a belief that during my experience here, there seems to be a particular female template that helps me experience this negative cycle that we just talked about. And
all right, but if it helps you experience that, it must be doing it for a positive reason, yes?
But why that specific physical template?
You must need that template to teach you something about yourself.
I learned that I'm tired of this.
Maybe that's the lesson.
I was tired a long time ago.
Obviously not tired enough.
Yeah, I'm...
When you are really sick and tired of being sick and tired, you will stop choosing to be sick and tired. Obviously, if it keeps happening, you're not tired enough. So keep doing it until you're really tired enough of it. Then you'll let it go. You'll realize that you don't need to keep doing it. Because you can only be doing it because you believe it serves you. Remember motivational mechanism?
Yes.
You can only experience what you believe serves you. So you must not be tired enough of it yet to let it go. And that's okay.
So there's no other reason that there will be that specific repetitive physical template. It's just an excuse, a permission slip for me to feel miserable.
Yep.
And it's working great. Is there a way I can slow down my aging process? There was somebody who...
By living in the moment. And you know how you live in the moment? You follow your passion to the best you can with no insistence or assumption as to what the outcome is supposed to be. That's how you accelerate your vibration, and by contrast, accelerating your vibration allows you to slow down and live in the moment. And that's how you become ageless.
Slowing down the molecular level of the aging process through meditation.
Living in the moment. Because you know how when you're acting on your passion, it seems like time passes in a flash?
Yes.
You've had that experience?
Yes.
So if you are doing something you love to do and you're in that state of being and it appears like or feels like maybe 15 minutes has passed, when you look up and reconnect with the world and oh, it's been 2 hours or 3 hours. What you feel was the time that passed, the 15 minutes, is all you've actually aged. Even though you might reconnect with the world 3 hours later and catch up to the consensus reality of time, if you only experienced 15 minutes in that experience of joy, you have actually only aged 15 minutes. That's how you become ageless. You collapse time. You live in the moment. You don't experience as much time because you're not focusing on so many details that you need more time to focus on them. You're acting holistically. You're living more in the now, which is timeless.
But there's so many passionate people who age just like everybody else.
And that's okay. Just look at how they age, though. I'm not saying you won't mature. Even we mature, but we are not infirm. We are not diseased. We are still energetic. And many of you are too, no matter how old you are. You're getting more and more examples on your planet of people that are over 100 who can probably outdo you. So the idea is to understand that that's possible, understand it's becoming even more probable, and allow yourself not to focus on that needing to be the outcome, but just focus on living in the moment and let yourself age and mature naturally for you. Because there is still a reason for that to happen in your society to a certain degree. Now, that will become less and less and less necessary over time. And for some individuals, it may not be necessary at all at any age, in any time frame, in any era. But the idea is that if it does happen while you're living in the moment, then there's a reason for it to happen that serves you. So stop having the insistence that something shouldn't be happening. Just use what's happening in the most positive way you can. That's the point of this conversation. Yes?
Yes.
Does that help you?
A lot.
All right.
And one last thing.
Yes?
I feel like I'm absolutely ready to meet you in physical form.
You are not.
What happens if we do?
You will blow up.
And what happens if I'm okay with that?
Well, then, what purpose does that serve?
Well,
What
I guess we'll
purpose
find out.
does that serve? Tell me what purpose it serves.
What if we try in a lucid dream? Would that be...
In a lucid dream is fine.
So can we meet
Because
there?
that's a different dimensional vibration. And there is, shall we say, less probability that our higher vibration won't overwhelm your vibration and force to the surface the things that you may not be ready to integrate within your psyche yet. This conversation between us has happened because you're still working on yourself. Yes?
Yes.
You're still holding on to certain vibrations that are wholly incompatible with the vibrational frequency on which we operate. We operate 10 times faster than you. It would burn you out. Therefore, the idea of incorporating this information is what allows you to accelerate yourself and become more vibrationally compatible. But the idea of being in another dimension, in what you call the lucid dream, that acts as a buffer. It's another reality that allows us to be more vibrationally compatible without negative effect to you in terms of your physical journey. And obviously you are still on your physical journey and still exploring the idea of belief systems within you that don't serve you. And therefore it would not really serve you for us to interact in your physical reality at this time. Please understand, we've done this before. We know what we're talking about. And we will do nothing that in any way, shape, or form, from our perspective, in our experience, would bring any degree of harm to you. So we cannot do that yet. But there will be potentially a time in which that could happen. The more you live in the moment, the more you accelerate your vibration, the more you become vibrationally compatible with us. And so in time, in perfect timing, then something like that could happen. You need to increase the probability by being more of yourself first. That's the process. That's contact. But you're having contact right now anyway. So the idea of physical contact with us can't be made to seem better than the kind of contact we're having right now. This is how it works. And you have to simply trust that we know what we're doing. All right?
I trust you. Thank you.
Our unconditional love to you. Pleasant dreams.